Hi, my name is Nasia and I'm a writer based in Cardiff. I'm going to do a short reading from my essay called Belonging that was recently published by Parthian Books in this anthology called Just So You Know. So the essay discusses the location of home and the various places that we call home and where we actually fit into those spaces. In the much loved 1939 movie The Wizard of Oz, Dorothy, played by Judy Garland, clicks her ruby red shoes, closes her eyes and repeats the words, "There is no place like home." As a child, I loved watching this movie and felt a sense of thrill at this scene. She was returning to her home. Even though the world she had adventured in was a colourful one, home was a sepia farm life with her aunt and uncle, a place with a sense of belonging. For me, home was Pakistan, where I was born, where my grandparents lived. Home was Manchester, where extended family lived, where I was schooled, where I made lifelong friendships with people with whom I have shared joy, sadness and milestones. I moved to Wales in the late 1990s and made my home here. My children were born in Cardiff, which cemented it as a place I call home. But there was always a pull and nostalgia called me to Lahore or to Manchester, but once there, Cardiff called me back. When you reach a certain age, you have lived experiences and accept that this pull is to be expected and makes for a richer life. At least that was my reasoning whenever I felt out of place and longed for the other home, the one in my past. In late April 2018, on a beautiful spring afternoon, I was racially abused in Cardiff, some 200 yards from my front door. Aside from the initial shock, and once the adrenaline had settled, something else rushed to fill its place. I became overwhelmed with a sense of displacement. A trajectory of thoughts led me to ask myself if the colour of my skin can unpluck me from a place where I have laid down roots. Is this place really my home? Where do I belong? How do I find this place of belonging? The incident stirred in me that all too familiar feeling of never being quite enough, no matter where I lived. This feeling of never being quite enough was not new. I came to Britain as a young child who spoke very little English. Other children were intrigued by my skin and language. It was all very innocent, but still a sharp reminder that I was different. This difference was celebrated at home and something to be proud of. My mother, a natural storyteller, would regale my siblings and I with stories from her childhood. She was determined that we did not lose our sense of heritage. Her stories were the first I ever heard, stories of one nation not divided, where Muslims, Christians, Hindus and Sikhs lived in harmony. She told us stories of golden fields of wheat, the horses she rode and the rivers in which she swam. Sometimes her voice would catch as she remembered the lost friendships that partition had brought. My mother would speak of the Jinn folklore and black magic, creating a world so different from the cold, wet northern city where we had made our home. My father, himself a poet, would enrich our world with the poetry of Ghalib, Mirza, Iqbal and Faiz, reciting verses like they were incantations. Of course, I was too young to understand that my parents were expressing a longing for the home that they had left behind. I would fall asleep dreaming of a vibrant language, rich traditions and everlasting sunshine.